Twilight's Kingdom is a phenomenal spectacle of a season finale, featuring what is arguably the greatest magical duel of the series, with incredibly high stakes and drama, culminating in the conclusion of an ambitious, overarching narrative. That being said, I would not consider this two-parter episode perfect by any means. It's not that there are any plot holes which hold the story back or don't make any sense, rather the feeling that these two episodes don't really leave much room to breathe, albeit the fault of this being on-network television from what is now a bygone era. For an overarching story which dealt with the teachings and consequences of friendship lessons, those elements are surprisingly missing, where it unfortunately felt rather needed. Seemingly pushed to the side or redacted completely in way of a more action-focused story. Which is fine, because this aspect of the two-parter is interesting and fairly unique to MLP in general, yet in terms of our grander conclusion to something which has been building over the entire season, falls a little flat, given when we actually reach said conclusion. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and seemingly sound as though I do not enjoy this episode. Which I do. Like I said, it's probably one of the most unique season finales we ever got during the show's 9-season run. Isolated, I'd say it's even one of the best. However, I took on the unique challenge of analyzing and comparing it to every other episode within its catalog, which in that regard feels rather different from everything else we've previously got. Especially in terms of not having a greater theme, message, or moral we can discuss or analyze, given the episode's central narrative revolves around our main character, who is supposed to be our role model that you either look up to or relate to. So let's take one last journey together to talk about what works really well and what doesn't. Finally concluding our 6-part series, this is Twilight's Kingdom.
There's only one way to find out.
The episode begins in the Crystal Empire, with our ponies walking towards the city center, or palace. We open with Spike recapping the events of a previous episode, as the Crystal Ponies apparently gifted him a giant statue in his honor.
Hey, you guys remember that?
There is some character-rich dialogue exchanged among the main 6, as Twilight begins to share some doubts she's been having recently, mainly how she is unsure of her overall purpose, primarily as a princess. Twilight feels this way having traveled to the Crystal Empire for a diplomatic event, feeling as though she doesn't really have to be there. As the scene concludes with Twilight unfurling a banner and smiling and waving to a crowd, Spike notes how this gesture of appearance is anticlimactic and a waste of time, making Twilight feel worse overall. At least he's keeping it real. We actually do get a moment where Twilight interacts with the other royal diplomats, however it is explicitly stated or about the fact that she was excluded from their important meeting.
Thank you for understanding our desire to keep the number of those privy to these confidential discussions to a minimum.
Of course.
Once the other nobles leave, Twilight opens up to the other princesses about her insecurities and general feeling of uselessness. Which leads us into a song that, if I'm being honest, is rather expository and transitionary. It is pretty iconic though, for the novelty alone of getting to hear Celestia, Cadence, and Luna all sing together, even if Princess Luna sounds exactly like Rarity. The chorus is an earworm though, it can easily get stuck in your head.
Know that your time is coming soon. As the sun rises, so does the moon.
After the song and quite the contrast, we cut to a pony walking through a foggy alleyway. This is where we're introduced to our main antagonist of the episode, Lord Tyrek, whose introduction is just cold.
Is he friend or is he foe? The pony wonders. I can assure you, I am no friend. And I will take what should have been mine long ago.
Apparently Celestia and Luna were both able to witness this event via some magical vision or future sight. So the 4 princesses gather to discuss this matter, as we receive a quick lore dump on Tyrek and his brother Scorpan, where we learn that Tyrek was banished to Tartarus cause hell exists in this universe, yet recently escaped. As we saw from his introduction, Tyrek has the ability to steal magic. Therefore, Celestia believes that Discord is the best current option in order to stop him. Not the smartest idea, but she most likely didn't want to have to put anyone in danger. There's then this super quick cut.
Discord. As in Discord?
As Twilight explains the situation to the main 6. Still feeling as though she has no purpose, Twilight decides that she wants to mope alone in the castle of the 2 sisters, which is an abandoned castle in the Everfree Forest, where Celestia used the elements of harmony to originally banish Nightmare Moon to the moon for 1,000 years. These elements were eventually given to the main 6 supposedly by the Tree of Harmony, adjacent to the castle, upon Nightmare Moon's return. who later had to return the elements to the tree since Discord's evil plans from a few thousand years ago were smothering it, which then in return produced our secret magical chest containing 6 keyholes. Awesome, now we're all caught up. So the main 6 decide to go with Twilight as they discuss their skepticism about giving up the elements of harmony, furthermore having to trust Discord of all people for this T-Rex matter, to which we are graced with his presence, entering the scene.
Oh, you're talking about me, I presume.
How'd you guess?
My ears were burning.
Watching Discord is always incredibly entertaining. He manages to steal any scene that he's in, manipulating the entire environment just to make some visual joke about whatever he's talking about in that moment. Truly a one-of-a-kind character. He purposely gloats in front of the group about how important the task is he was granted by Celestia to stop T-Rex, really just so he can make Twilight feel worse about herself. That's not all he does though, as he goes on to expositionally reintroduce the magical chest we mentioned earlier, while continuing to tie it in with Twilight's feelings of inadequacy, of course, which gives Twilight the idea to go study and learn about the chest, with the group's goal to possibly figure out how to open it. We cut back to T-Rex, who is carrying on with his goal of stealing magic, as Discord comes to interrupt him. This is one of the more interesting moments in the episode, for a few reasons. For one, T-Rex is actually aware of who Discord is, as well as his imprisonment, commending him on his escape, believing he wants to be the one to rule over all of Equestria himself. Secondly, the fact that T-Rex immediately attempts to attack Discord after he throws handcuffs on him, which shows the type of character T-Rex is. Thirdly, and most interesting, the way T-Rex ends up manipulating Discord into turning on the ponies and helping him instead, explaining how friendship is rather just another form of imprisonment, as one needs to subdue their true nature, offering Discord real freedom should he choose to work with him, which he ultimately decides to do, albeit in a pretty irredeemable manner. When we come back to the castle of the two sisters, Twilight decides to look at the pages Discord happened to bookmark in their friendship journal, which is the book we've seen the main 6 each write lessons in at the end of certain episodes. She notices that each notation happens to match up with a specific moment that correlates to their element. Applejack having to be honest about the fake tonic, Fluttershy having to be assertive with the Breezies in order to do what was best for them, Rarity not losing her generous spirit after being taken advantage of, Rainbow Dash choosing to be loyal to her friends when given the chance to fly with her heroes, lastly Pinkie, who set aside her pride, see what I did there, in order to make sure her friend was actually enjoying herself. With Twilight believing each of the objects they'd been given having some sort of special connection. Not taking all the credit, however, mentioning that maybe Discord was actually trying to be a good friend here by bookmarking all of these pages. So they each gather their special item and head down to the Tree of Harmony. Confused about how these objects of all different shapes and sizes could unlock the 6 keyholes, Pinkie Pie in her infinite wisdom decides to throw Boneless the rubber chicken at the chest, which ends up turning it into a special key. So the group all place their objects onto the chest and watch as their item transforms into their own unique key. Each item even gets their own little transformation animation, which is a nice detail to include. However, Twilight, unfortunately, seems to be missing the key for her element of magic, which once again upsets her.
Don't worry, Twilight. I'm sure you'll get your key eventually.
Spike receives a letter calling for Twilight to come to Canterlot immediately, only to learn that Discord has betrayed them and decided to team up with T-Rex. With Discord's help, T-Rex now has the ability to steal flight from Pegasi and strength from the Earth Ponies. Celestia explains that without their flight, the Pegasi won't be able to make rain, and without their strength, the Earth Ponies won't be able to tend to the land. Along with all the abilities being stolen from the Unicorns, Pegasi, and Earth Ponies, Celestia also claims that T-Rex should now have the ability to steal Alicorn magic, so she comes up with one final solution.
We must rid ourselves of our magic before T-Rex has the chance to steal it from us.
As you may have noticed, this episode is incredibly exposition heavy, practically being entirely set up for the next episode. Admittedly, apart from the T-Rex stuff, the Discord stuff, and the T-Rex and Discord stuff, on its own, this episode might be a bit on the weaker side. As we know though, this is just the first part of a 2-part episode. So let's continue and see what else this season finale has in store for us in Twilight's Kingdom Part 2.
Oh, hi, Spike. Gotta go somewhere else.
The episode immediately picks off where the last left off, sparing no time at all, with Twilight proclaiming that she is willing to do her part and give up her magic. However, the princesses explain that magic cannot simply just disappear, and rather their idea is to transfer all of it to Twilight, since Tyrek is most likely unaware that there even is a fourth Alicorn in Equestria, being imprisoned for as long as he was. Twilight is understandably worried and skeptical about this, but Cadance reassures her that if anyone can do it, it's Twilight, given that she is the element of magic, which makes her feel a lot better.
Taking on this task will be one of the most difficult things I will ever do. But with the help of my friends...
I'm sorry, Princess Twilight, but you must keep your new abilities a secret.
Twilight continues, proclaiming that with her friends, anything is possible. But this is shut down pretty quickly by Celestia, as she believes letting them know about the magic transfer would jeopardize the plan as well as their well-being, which is pretty lame if you ask me. Regardless, they go through with this idea and transfer all of the Alicorn magic into Twilight, as their cutie marks disappear and their manes stop being all flowy and sparkly. We even for a moment see Twilight's mane with the magical princess effect, and it looks pretty cool. Meanwhile, as Tyrek and Discord head towards the royal palace, Discord actually notices this seismic energy shift.
That can't be right.
What can't be right?
Nothing. Carry on.
Later during the night, Twilight returns back to her home in Ponyville. Spike asks her if everything is okay, to which Twilight reassures him, and since he obviously trusts her, decides to go back to sleep, since the sun isn't out yet.
That's strange. The sun should be up by now. The sun should be up by now! You can do this.
Tyrek finally makes it to the princesses, but to his disappointment, none of them have their magic.
Where is your magic?
With Twilight struggling to maintain her magic, she decides to isolate herself in order to practice her control. She flies away in a quick burst, which catches the attention of Rainbow Dash, who is then followed by the rest of the main six. When they eventually catch up to Twilight, in a mini parallel to the last episode, they offer to come with her to wherever she is going. However, this time she tells them not to come with her. Tyrek, finding the princesses of no use, decides to throw them in Tartarus, while Discord messes around with the stained glass windows of the castle. This is where Tyrek reassures Discord of their partnership, giving him a medallion of trust of some sort. This is when Tyrek finally learns about Twilight's existence, noticing an untouched window of her as a princess. Discord, now believing he can fully trust Tyrek, goes off to capture the main six. As I mentioned earlier, this team-up move from Discord is pretty irredeemable, and this moment just might be the worst part.
Why are you doing this? I thought we were friends.
Oh, we were. Surely you saw this coming?
I didn't. I really didn't.
What I find more annoying, though, is just how useless the main six come off here. I wish they were given more to do, but there was already a lot going on that needed to be done in such a short amount of time. I suppose it helps seeing as they were more deceived or manipulated by Discord's actions, as if there really wasn't anything they could have done in the first place. After stealing the magic from the main six, Tyrek decides to steal Discord's magic as well, revealing that he was just using Discord all along. Big surprise, I know.
Soon there won't be a Pegasus, Earth Pony, or Unicorn who will be able to stand up against us.
Us? Who said anything about us?
We? Who's we?
It is super interesting to see, though, that Discord's magic looks entirely unique and different from anything we've seen magic-wise, and perfectly captures his Master of Chaos nature. Discord, who is surprised by this betrayal, questions why Tyrek gave him the medallion in the first place if it meant so much to him, only for Tyrek to reveal that it was given to him by his brother Squarpan, who claimed to have betrayed him, siding with the ponies hundreds of years ago.
Surely you saw this coming.
I didn't. I truly didn't.
We can even see Squarpan wearing this medallion back when Celestia was explaining the lore to us, which is a pretty nice payoff to those who might have caught that detail. We then see Twilight struggling to contain all her magic, right before we begin what might just be the greatest magical battle the series has ever produced.
Princess Twilight!
Tyrek!
Before we get into that, however, I need to talk about Tyrek destroying Twilight's library. This library, in all honesty, was a staple to the fabric of MLP. It was not only a place that held many books, which are now destroyed, but it was a place that Twilight called her home. For many stories and many episodes were either spent here, or the group would often find the solutions to their problems here. Once again, unfortunately, they just kind of sweep this under the rug, apart from Twilight's initial rage. Truly one of the most devastating moments in the series, and it's undercut by the episode's super fast pacing. I just wish we spent a little more time to mourn the loss of such a monumental establishment. In that regard, Twilight is completely justified here in how she just kind of switches over to kill mode and immediately starts attacking Tirek with all she's got. Speaking of which, Twilight flies up into the air and fires a massive magical beam down onto Tirek, which ruptures the surrounding area, causing a massive explosion. She flies up again, presumably to fire another beam, while Tirek shoots at her in the air. She shields this, however, while teleporting directly below him, shooting a beam right into his face. However, with Twilight being this close, Tirek is easily able to grab her and throws her into the side of a mountain, from which Tirek immediately lunges at Twilight, sending her body and himself through the mountain. As they continue to both fly through the air, Twilight swiftly teleports above Tirek and blasts a quick shot, launching him directly down into the ground. While laying on the ground, Twilight shoots a second shot at Tirek, relentlessly sending him below the surface underground. Tirek then uses a laser to mine himself out, picking up the piece of land he carved, with Twilight who happens to be standing on it, and tosses it as far as he can. Twilight flies up in order to avoid this collision, flying once again towards Tirek as he slams his arms into the ground, the ruptures from this causing spires to appear right before Twilight as she zaps them away, culminating in one last magic blast from the both of them, which combines to cause a massive explosion that forces both of them under rubble. So Tirek, realizing that they're practically in a stalemate with each other, offers Twilight a deal: the release of her friends for all the magic she has. Oh, and Discord is there too. The main six are obviously against this trade. However, this is when Twilight finally receives her Rainbow Eyes moment, as she knows what she has to do, which is a nice shift of confidence from previously in regards to her constantly moping about her purpose as a princess. So she takes Tirek's deal and trades all the Alicorn magic for her friends, plus Discord. Discord, being eternally grateful from this gesture of kindness, admits the errors of his ways, realizing now that there really is nothing greater than friendship. He gives the medallion Tirek gave to him to Twilight, as the medallion reveals itself to be the last key of the chest. Twilight claims that unlocking this chest is something that they all have to do together. As they open it up, it lights up the Tree of Harmony, which causes them to transform into what is referred to as their Rainbow Power Mode, and apparently is graded as a 2A or possibly a low 1C, ultimately resulting in the episode's conclusion. But we've got a lot to talk about first. Twilight and the main six, very anime style, defeat Tirek with the power of friendship, although disappointingly Twilight doesn't actually say this. The unicorns get their magic back, the Pegasi get their flight back, and the Earth Ponies get their strength back. Look how happy they are. The princesses are freed from hell, as the magical chest rides up a rainbow into the sky, landing in Ponyville, causing a crystal tree palace to rise from the ground. Celestia explains to Twilight that this is her castle, as well as her new home, with the main six and Spike each receiving their own thrones.
You are now Twilight Sparkle, the Princess of Friendship.
Twilight even includes Discord in this resolution, who is happy to be included, but upset he doesn't receive his own throne.
Wait a minute, where's my throne?
I don't think you're quite there yet.
Well, I suppose not.
Finally, as all the town ponies gather to marvel at the newly erected structure, we wrap up with one last song for the season, as we witness many of the characters from previous episodes who each provided us with a special magical item, and we close out with the group all huddled together. First of all, their transformations from a design standpoint are honestly unappealing. I didn't like them when I first saw them over 10 years ago, and I don't like them now. I think the idea of them transforming is cool, and the fact that they have access to the Elements of Harmony's powers without actually needing to use the Elements of Harmony is really nice, as well as some of the ideas for the designs being okay, but overall, these colors do not all work together, and there's just way too much going on. Second of all, this castle is just ugly. We already have one princess whose entire kingdom is made of crystals, Why do we need a second Crystal Castle? Twilight previously lived in a big tree. Why couldn't we have just gotten an upgraded version of that? Despite my grievances, seeing all the characters from the previous episodes is really touching, and makes the episode, as well as the season as a whole, feel rather conclusive. Even though we already got our payoff with the chest opening, this comes off as like a nice little bonus, and shows that the writers do really care about the series. I think my main issue with the episode really comes down to the pacing, which I understand there are certain restrictions, being that this is network television from over 10 years ago, but I can't help but feel like these episodes would be so much better if it was a 3-parter instead of a 2-parter, with each scene, as well as the characters, just having a little more time to breathe. Maybe write something in for the main 6 to do as well, so they're not just fodder that gets easily taken out by T-Rex. Overall, a fantastic conclusion to a fantastic series of episodes. With all that said, we've finally come to the end of our Rainbow Keys analysis series. I grew up watching this series, as well as a lot of MLP YouTube back in the day. Getting to this point in my journey as a creator, where I get to make what I want, and know that people like you care, truly means the world to me. This doesn't have to be the end of MLP videos though, so if you've got any specific episodes you think I should check out, or perhaps even a series of episodes like these, please let me know, and I'd be happy to cover them. But I think that's going to do it for now, my friends. As always, thank you for watching, and take care.